The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.
A manager.
All right, well, we recorded that, so thanks for that. So, hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday week. In the aftermath of Darren Moore parting company with Sheffield Wednesday, a number of teams have been to the bookies' favourites. We've gone from sensational Carlos returns to Steven Gerrard and currently stand at Dean Smith via virtual unknown European coaches. As a number of men on holiday in Benidorm get 120 plus 3 tattooed on their ankles, we will try and discuss the pros and cons of some of the candidates. And Ash will relive the horror of spending another 5 hours at a fans forum with the chairman. Ash, how was that, pal? All right.
Like pulling bloody teeth, man. And you know that going to Turkey.
Well, you see, it's something I can, empathise with. So I tell you what, let's start with the fans forum, Ash. It's been a week. I hope you've recovered. I hope you caught up on your sleep. Can you give us a blow by blow account? Not in a mucky way.
I can try, Dan. I mean, it like I say, it's been over a week, and I've been on a stag do at the weekend, so I'm a bit hazy. So well, what can I say? Started off really well. I had a nice.
Tell us about right at the start, Ash. Tell us about that bit.
Yeah, I had a lovely pie with mushy peas, gravy, and a bit of hendos. So I mean, it was all going downhill from there, mate.
Yeah. You peaked early, didn't you?
Peaked early. Well, got in there. Obviously, anyone listening who was there, it was a sellout apparently. Which, for one thing, he actually did have a good idea, the chairman, and obviously it was £10 a chuck. Any profit from what's pies? What are they, £1 a go or something? So, and then at the end, the chairman doubled what they made to charity. So, which is fair play. Didn't mind chucking a tenner at that at all. Got in there. There was a bit of a staging bit with a raised section with four chairs. And that's it.
Did you get excited that you're thinking you might see somebody unveiled that evening? Did you genuinely like?
Nah. What, wheeling Carlos out that the bookies had him meeting in the day or something, weren't they? And it was a fan. Well, the bookies' favourite for being. Unveiled the next manager, but no, 4 places empty. Everyone's speculating who can be up there. Obviously, it was the chairman, Liam Dooley, Trevor Braithwaite. I think he's the communications director. I think he's
communications from Braithwaite and Son. The only people that are allowed to talk to the players.
And Stan, who's the stadium and stadium manager, grounds manager thing. So anything security and stadium wise, he's the man. But basically, it should have just been one chair up there, like Mastermind, because they spoke a couple of sentences each. It was just the chairman show. He answered every question, I say he answered every question. He answered the questions and then diverted off to a load of other avenues and alleyways that had probably nothing to do with the question that was asked. Sorry.
There was a couple of things came out of it, Ash. Just before we go and delve down into what was said, do you feel that there are any points where the chairman's point was kind of missed and misrepresented? You know what I mean? He's tried to make a joke, and they've said, "Oh well, he's clearly said this," just to try and vilify him a little bit.
I don't know, probably, but then again, I haven't read obviously the local journalists or whoever reported. I haven't really read because I was there. I'm not really bothered. It was.
Yeah, you didn't want to relive it in print.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it was. It was for what was it? 6 hours of my life, virtually nearly, that I won't get back. It was. Yeah, there was some questions. People going over the same usual. I'm a member of the supporters engagement panel, and I should have known because I know what he's like. I've sat in a fair few meetings with the chairman for this, and I know how he goes off on a tangent after trying to explain. And his English isn't that bad. It's just some words. When he gets to swear and stuff, he's bang on like any Any person, you can always learn to swear in the another language and get it perfect. But it was very. It came across as that he wanted to answer every question and answer it right. And there was a couple of occasions that Trevor, who was sat next to him, would tap him or just give him a look or something where he might be going too far, or not say the wrong thing, but just probably giving more information at the time that really he should do. He was very. It's hard. Well, like I say, it was a week ago as well, so it's hard. But he wanted to come across, as I feel, he wanted to come across that he actually is engaged with the fans. He did want to answer. He didn't shy away from any question that I remember. Any question that came, it wasn't like, we'll come back to that one, or somebody else stepped in and answered. He would answer every question. Go on, Steve.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you a question. I was waiting for you to finish, actually, mate. Question: do you think the timing of the Moore situation? I know it might sound like a daft question. It's obviously has it overhyped the forum and turned it into something that it wasn't going to be. So in my opinion, there's no way that they planned to have that forum when they had the forum and then made the Darren Moore announcement and then gone, we'll keep the forum, if that makes sense. So I think the forum was probably going to be around stadium, ticket prices, shirts, so on and so forth, and would have probably ended up being a positive when they originally scheduled it around, look, we've got this guy that's coming before we've had any sort of chat at sort of senior level. Take the positives of Wembley, 96 points, promotion, fans parade at City Hall. Right, let's kick on now. Darren Moore's got idea, plan. And we go from there, and it would have been a very different sort of atmosphere, wouldn't it, if the situation that arose the night before hadn't happened?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, you can't say for sure, but yeah, definitely. But I wouldn't say the atmosphere in the room was hostile, or, I mean, the bar wasn't open, which was probably a good move, It sat there for 5 hours and things, but I didn't feel it was hostile. Obviously, the news that came out 24 hours previous, it was on everyone's minds, and obviously the chairman's there in front of him. So the first few questions and everything was about Darren Moore and his thought process around it. And obviously he was very respectful to Darren. He did say that they still talk and everything. There was nothing bad from the discussion that they had or whatever meeting that came up with this. And he did offer. But what he did say was that he wouldn't say any more on the situation until Darren Moore spoke out. So if Darren Moore went to, for whatever reason, went to a local journal and did a 2-page spread of his time at Sheffield Wednesday, which Chansiri didn't say that he couldn't, or he didn't to everyone, but he did say that if Darren Moore did say anything, then he would respond and make comment. So he didn't go into any of the background stuff, which you wouldn't expect. He just parted company with his manager 24 hours before, hadn't he? So
I can see that being an overarching thing, Ash. Like, you know what I mean? Try and kind of put a thing on it. And as daft as it sounds, fair play to him for shutting it down. Like, there was part of it that's like, lads, it's been a day. Come on now. Let's talk about. But it would have been very difficult because there would have been a load of people sharpening their sticks and pickaxes and whatnot. So talk to me about, why are our shirts 15 quid more expensive? Why are our season tickets 150 quid more expensive than everybody else?
It's on the shirt situation. It did say that they should be more expensive, which is hard. What this is? All right. He said, "Fuck all." He said.
Do the voice, Ash. Do the voice, and you're Chansiri as far as I'm concerned right now. And I'm going to go, shit, that talking bollocks.
I'm not doing that. I'm not.
Is the voice appropriate for audio media?
Of course it's not. What is it? I don't know what there's a word for it in there, but no, he did say obviously they could be more expensive. They're not. The question was about obviously Elevate, and he did say that they brought that in. It was his own in-house, as to say, but people moaned about that. they've gone out.
They were fucking terrible. Like the quality was awful. They only lasted one wash.
Nah, well, everyone's different. Mark Lewis my lad had 2 or 3 of them hundreds of times playing football, and not one issue with them. But I know people were taking them back to the shop after one wash and stuff. So must have.
That's a problem. That's a problem within itself, isn't it? You want if you're going to pay that money. If we all bought the same shirt and we're paying 50 quid or whatever it was at the time, you want every shirt to be the same. You don't want to be going right. Well, Dan managed to wear it 5 times.
Yeah,
the owl's fallen off Simon's and it says Elevate instead of Elevate on yours. Do you know what I mean?
But my issue with it was, Steve, with Elevate was that like it was 65 quid or 60 quid, or it was a ridiculous amount of money. If I'm paying that amount of money, I expect it to be of some kind of quality with one of the top end sports brands, right?
Yeah,
now,
totally
this is going to sound mental, but
so is Macron's a top end sports brand? The 65 quid, so you should be happy at that price.
Stokes are 50, same brand. Don't give a shit what he's got to say.
The owner's worth 5.5 billion and got a massive thing, so they're gonna. It's all about profit, sustainability. So they're going to be pumping money in. I don't get their shirt's 50 quid and ours are 65 argument. It's
so can I pull up that one? So what you've just said there, and I don't know the answer to this, is what you're saying there because Stoke have got more money. They can charge less for the shirts under profit and sustainability, and because we've got less money.
I don't know. I'm not a thing, but I'm just thinking the owners, they've got billions and billions, and if they're subsidising the shirts, so they could be 65 quid. I don't know. If you went on Macron's actual website that you can buy the shirts from, they may all be the same price. I don't know, but it could be 50 quid in the Stoke shop. So, but what I'm just saying is, Dan, you were just saying about 65. Macron, they have some of the biggest teams in Europe, don't they? Manufacturer.
Yep.
That is a higher end. Yes, it's not your Nike, Adidas, and Puma and all that, but 65 quid. You said if it was 65 quid and it was an not Elevate, you'd be all right with it. But then
you want that consistency across the piece, don't you? So if I'm going in, if I'm let's take it away from football. If I'm an NBA fan and I like my throwback jerseys on my basketball tops. If I'm a Bulls fan versus Knicks, who haven't won anything in years, versus Lakers versus Nuggets have just won. If I'm going in there and they're all being branded by Nike or by whoever it is that's branding the shirt, the jerseys, surely I'm not being penalised for being a fan of the Knicks or a fan of the Bulls or whoever it is.
In America, it works differently. So everybody in each league has its own brand of kit, right? It's not like we're here where we have Castore and Macron and Adidas and Nike. The league has all Nike, all Reebok, all the helmets used to be all made by Riddle, right? Now the Adidas kit. The Arsenal one is 110 quid, and they spelt that thing wrong on it. That's why I found out how much it was, right? So, if you use that as an example, so our kit, 65 quid compared to 110, seems like a drop in the ocean, right? But when I was saying that I'd want one of the bigger sports brands, I was talking about Elevate being a shit sports brand. And do you remember the kit came out? What was it? 3 months too late, and when it came out, it was reduced from 69. Right? Do you remember that? And he tried to charge us 70 quid at one point. So now it's 65 quid. The same manufacturer, who also play in bloody stripes, right, are charging 15 quid less than ours. Now, granted, the best thing he's done is got it out early, right? Brilliant. I'm really chuffed with that because now we've got more opportunity as a club to make money with birthdays coming up through the summer, which is what we should have been doing the entire time Chance Series been at the club. What a, great marketing move, even though we've all been saying it on Twitter for 8 years now, right? That's great. Now, this is a lovely kit and it's been ruined by a shitty sponsor, but don't get me started on that again, right? Now, I do not understand how it can be justified that that's £65, and it's the same with the season tickets as well. Now, in terms of GDP, in terms of capita per person, we are 39th out of 40 in the big city. We are in a Sheffield is in a low-income area, and to introduce a capitalism model into, because their demand for it, I can charge what I want, isn't in the vein of how we see ourselves in Yorkshire, right? We have there is an element in Yorkshire where we're like, we're always portrayed like, look at that depressing Full Monty season that's just come out. We're like, oh, we're so poor, we can't afford anything, but still, because there are thousands of people wanting to it, you can creep in a £5 or a £10 or even 15 quid, or in the cases of the season ticket, it's 150 quid, and people still buy it. The only way we're going to get those prices down is if we stop turning up, but we won't, because that's how capitalism works. There's a demand for it. The best example I can give you is when people are spending 30 grand on tickets for the Super Bowl, for example. They're that expensive because people will pay it. And what we have now in this country is this entire crossover of people buying things, buying success and buying nice things, and it's not born out of welfare, and it's not born out of humanity, and it's not born out of fair for all. Best examples I can give you, the best one is, to bring this Sheffield Wednesday, is you can go to Wembley if you buy a season ticket for next year. Pure capitalism model, right? Pure capitalism. Because they've gone, hey, if you can afford that, you can afford this, and then come on in, pal. I went to Miami once.
On that,
Sorry,
Dan, I know you're thinking, but on that you didn't have to buy a season ticket. You did, because of the demand for the tickets, but that wasn't born on thing. That was because obviously we sold our 37,000, was it 38,000, right. And then they didn't get to general sale because of everything. So it wasn't the club's fault, is it? It's not them. They're not saying you had to buy a season ticket to get that.
Of course it is. They're the ones. They're the club are the people that brought in the availability of that ticket for Wembley. If you bought another season ticket, nobody else was in charge of that, right? And that is a capitalism model.
It's because the demand from the fans, though, isn't it? Because if you'd have gone, right. if the club had gone, right, season ticket holders can get it 9 o'clock Monday morning, and then 9 o'clock Tuesday morning, rest of them, everyone else can buy a ticket.
But no, we brought in tiers, didn't we? Set by the club for people what have spent money. Again, capitalism model, right? Nothing is born out of fairness anymore, and born out. Hang on, just indulge me for 5 minutes. Come on, finish this point, right? Nothing is born out of fairness and equality, and as a society, we are slipping that way. And I think that Sheffield Wednesday is at the forefront in football of that. Let me give you another example. For example, I went to the F1 in Miami. It was a Red Bull corporate do, and we got a bus from Miami South Beach to the stadium. Now, those that know the area, if you've been before, it's like a 2.5 hour drive to go to the Miami Dolphin Stadium uptown. We got there in an hour because Red Bull had paid the police to give us an escort all up the road, just straight down. There's people moving out the way. We had Japanese kids taking our pictures. It was absolutely insane. Now, that they got that because they paid for it. Can you imagine walking to a local bobby shop and going, listen, I fancy going to go and watch the Wendy next week. Do you mind giving me an escorted with the blue lights up Ecclesall Road? They'll be like, get on, you stupid sod. We've got criminals to catch, because we don't have, as a country, a capitalism model. But because it's creeping in, and because Chansiri isn't from England, he doesn't understand the outcry. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand what the outcry is. It's like, well, if you want it, pay for it. But we, from a country where, and especially an area in the country where it's got to be fair, it's not fair, I can't believe it. Even down to the NHS, right? You look at the NHS. This is a product that was born out of welfare, born out of making sure that everybody's looked after. But now all of a sudden, under the Tories, who is another conversation, right? Born out of there, you can now pay 15 quid to get seen by a doctor via an online system. You can pay for private healthcare to get you bumped up the list and get it done quicker. That's a capitalism model. And that's what Chansiri has brought into Sheffield Wednesday. And to bring this full circle, we as an area in Sheffield, we're not prepared for that right now, but we're already in one. Whoa! That was a long way, but do you understand what I mean? He doesn't understand.
I get it.
He's not from this country.
I don't necessarily think that's the root of it, isn't it? He's coming from, and he's the one thing I'd say about Chansiri, on top of everything that you've just said there in sort of any sort of rebuttal, is that all the negativity that has been thrown at the bloke, what I will say about it is there's no arguing whether we agree with it or not. There's no arguing that he's spent literally hundreds of millions. He hasn't necessarily spent it well, but he's spent a shit ton of money. And he's got to recoup that money because he's a businessman. And the people, the source of the recoupment, if that's a word, the recouping of his money is us. You know, the working class, the hard-working guys, the people. And we've talked about this. We talked about this last season.
We're not hard-working people to him. We're customers.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely right. But ultimately, we are. We talked about this last season. You know, we are on this this podcast, on this show, whether you're watching, you're listening, whatever level it is, we are very, very lucky to be able to do what we do. And whether that be through fair means or foul, we are in a situation where we sit as we are tonight and we're recording on MacBooks, we've got mics on, we've got headpieces, these plasmas in the background. Fucking Pete McKees aren't cheap. Do you know what I mean? Joking aside, and we can point to all the stuff that we've got. Our lifestyle, for what it is at the minute, is great, but ultimately there's a significant proportion of people in society, in our fan base, that are going to struggle to meet what we meet. And some of us struggle to meet what we meet as well. So I totally agree with what you're saying. He's spent a lot of money doing what he's done. And I think he's now in a situation, it's almost like the whirlpool, the cycle of the water going down the sinkhole. And he's trying to stop that because he's just chucking money after money after money. And to go back again, bringing things full circle, the season ticket prices, the admission prices on a match day, the fact that, it's going to charge, he's charging people the top side of £30 to go and watch our football team next year on a day-to-day basis. I've just paid whatever I've paid for the season ticket that I've got to sit in the same seat that I was sitting in last year. Last year, it was great because we got 96 points. We were top at league. We went to Wembley. We had fantastic days, fantastic memories. The best I could hope for, and this is a tangent, the best I can hope for as it stands right now, 18th, 19th, 20th. I paid stupid money to go and watch my team toil at bottom of the mid-table at best.
You don't pay your season ticket, though, just in the good times, do you? You pay it all the time.
No, you don't.
You're not paying your season ticket for 96 points, being top of the league or getting to Wembley. You pay your season ticket, you might finish bottom with 5 points, don't you? It doesn't. What happens, you pay your X amount, whatever it'll be, and you can't guarantee what happens. So I don't... But
the groundswell and the feeling of emotion around people, and it's a conversation for another time. Well, no, it's not. It's a conversation for now. I'd argue that if the ticket prices were cheaper, forget you've got to get 30,000 people through the door and hour half it to £400. But if if he'd got the pricing strategy right, and I said it at the time, the pricing strategy, he must have come up with a reason why he's charged people what they've charged. And he must have an argument in his head that it's easier to sell, 20,000 at that price than 25,000 at what the other price. Forgive me, I'm not doing the maths. But surely if he reduced, he sells more. And I'm not saying
I don't think he would. I don't think he would. I think it's like there's a demand for this. Let's jack it up. I think it's it genuinely as simple as that. Now, if you are watching this on YouTube, folks, this is not a picture of Simon in the corner. I've just realised we've been recording for 24 minutes, and we've had updates from the fans forum. We've had rants from Stevie and I about capitalism. Is there anything you'd like to ask Ash in reference to the fans forum?
Not particularly. No, they're the same every time. I went to the Dave Allen one where he called somebody a venomous bitch. Doesn't matter who's in charge of the football club. They make a shit show. They make a shit show of it. The fans can never agree. They don't agree. They do agree. Football shirts too expensive. Football shirts too cheap. I've just had a look. Macron's Club Brew shirt is 70 quid. One of them is 85 quid. We can compare. We can contrast. This is the football club we've got to deal with. I think our chairman is in a situation where he's shit scared of doing what he did a few years ago in regards to getting caught by FFP. We haven't got the escape clause of buying the ground anymore because he can't buy that again. He's already bought it. We've got
and
14...
it still cost us points, didn't it?
Yeah, and we've got. Well, that's the reason why we got relegated. We've got 14 first team players. I would imagine a few of them are on decent money. We've got to double that at least to even have a go at competing next season. Plus, he's got to take a manager on. Plus, he's got to invest in the stadium just to keep the thing ticking over. Because when he bought it, he bought a lame dog. I mean, literally, they plugged the lights in to keep the pictures green, and it blew all the substation. They had to put a new substation in. And the redecorating because the place was on its arse. I'm not defending him, but like Ash said, he's had to stick his hand in his pocket. Football clubs are follies. And if you think you're going to make money out of a football club, you're severely mistaken. They are a rich man's
You'll
folly.
only make money if you're in the Premier League. It's as simple as that.
In the Premier League, exactly like that.
Because one thing I was going to say on the flip side of it was that you see a lot of clubs, especially in the Championship, trying to get to the promised land of the Premier League where you can make untold fortunes, right? Is that there are a lot of them falling foul of FFP now. We've got because the parachute payments make it really difficult to get out of that league, and you have to be really competitive. The fact that we got to the playoff final against Hull City is actually impressive when you really think about the teams that came down that could have gone up that year. So, is it a move to avoid FFP? If I were Chansiri, I'd sit there and go, yes, and then move on.
I think on the FFP side. Oh, sorry, Sam. Go on, Simon. Sorry.
By all accounts, we've got wages. The club's losing money hand over fist, and we've got a lot of players who played in League One who are on Championship wages. And I'm not just talking Barry Bannon. I'm talking, we're going to attract players like Volks. We're attracting players like Byers, etc. They're not going to be on cheap wages, are they? So we're on a loss making model already. Now, I don't agree with the season ticket prices whatsoever. I was very lucky, and I think the viewers were, because we've had them so long, that mine hasn't gone up at all really over the last 10 years. But if anybody went to Wembley and then wants to buy a season ticket, Jesus Christ, hats off to them if they buy them and then buy a shirt and everything else that comes with it. Yeah, exactly. Well, Ethan's had a shirt. I won't buy one, but Ethan's had one. So we're saddled with this huge debt that we're carrying over and carrying over and carrying over. And when you get into the Championship, is it Norwich who just signed somebody for? No, Leicester just signed somebody for 10 million. Is it 10 million?
Yeah.
10 million.
And Code as well.
They've spent 17 million, or it stands to make 17 million. And then they're attracting Kearney, who's Fulham's captain. So what money is he going to be on? And then they've got two others that I've seen that had been linked as well. So, all your points are valid. The only thing I'd sort of maybe counter if people don't mind, the Championship salaries in League One, has he not learnt his lesson? Are we not talking about coming out of that?
We're paying for it.
And are we not at a point where how do we stand? And I don't know the answer to this. How do we stand versus? I'm not going to take Ipswich because from what I can see, and I might be wrong, Ipswich are spunking money at it and they're at risk.
They're going to be at top 6 next season.
Well, they've got to be, because if not, they are in trouble.
In the fans forum for the FFP thing is Chansiri said the budget this season is 14 million. That's what they can spend to is their limit for the 39 million over 3 seasons, is it? So it's 14 million. That's it. That's
that 39 million threshold has been there for nearly a decade now.
Well, this is it.
Why does it not go up?
Exactly. You think so?
And then when you have so many clubs who are ex-Premiership who are still, I haven't actually gone through the Championship in regards to how many clubs are still being paid parachute payments, but it's not just 3, is it? There's quite a few there that are still going through that parachute payment stage who haven't managed to get up. I would imagine West Brom are there or thereabouts. Obviously Norwich and those teams that haven't gone up. So they have that distorts that 39 million, doesn't it? Because they've got these parachute payments on top of. So
and they've got
they're
Premier
also
League assets as well. Premier
League assets being players, stadiums, etc. Plus also as well, they're buying players for 10 million. So, if you want to buy an half-decent Championship, are you going to go to Leicester, where they're going to pay you a decent salary, or are you going to go to Sheffield Wednesday?
To bring this full circle, Ash, did they speak about our youth academy bringing anybody through? Because the other side of the city has always had a lion's share of producing talent from theirs, and we haven't. We don't produce good players. Stevie's going to give me a look about LP2, but I'm talking like top end Premier League winning ones like Kyle Walker.
Sellable assets.
Can't play.
That's what you're talking about. You're talking about sellable assets, aren't you?
I'm talking about having a decent academy that just some shit kickers just go, I'll play football.
No, but the irony on that one, sorry, Ash, the irony on that one is the best asset that we've got from a sellability point of view. We let go, and he's gone and won Premiership or the Premier League.
Who?
Jamie Vardy.
Oh, right. Yeah. But Christ, I thought you were talking about under Chansiri. I'm like, bloody.
No. I'm saying the whole status of the academy. It was a statement in terms of endorsing what you were saying. Where it's not just about the players that we produced. In order to produce Kyle Walker and Norton and Maguire and whoever it is that United have ended up sort of churning out, they had to have that infrastructure. And we just aren't there. You look at where we are in terms of our academy and what we've got in terms of facilities, infrastructure, coaching, forward-thinking models, progression. We do respect to the club that I love. We're miles away from it in terms of what we've got, and we've made inbounds on it, but nowhere near.
To quantify that, Steve, you look at Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs. They've got this huge youth network. And they loan them out, and they can amortize it or something, or some highfalutin maths, and it actually makes them money, right? It makes Sheffield United money, it makes Chelsea money, and it makes Arsenal and Spurs and all these clubs with these huge networks, right? We are and have been for a number of years the biggest club in the area, aside Leeds, right? If I'm brutally honest, that's why everybody hates us because we're the biggest, right, in terms of South Yorkshire, right? Currently, over the last 25 years, Sheffield United have been the better team, right? But we're the bigger club. We're the bigger legacy, as it were. So we've got the reach. Now, if we had a decent network, we could be sending our players out on loan. We could be the ones trying to make a few quid. And to bring this full circle, instead of investing money into the youth system, he's charging us for it because there's a demand. Mm-hmm. We're the ones paying for his fuck-ups, not him chucking more money in and trying to create some sellable assets.
But that whole model, you then have to create a situation where, you might have to go, we're going to drop, and we might spend 4 or 5 years in League One toiling about and dealing with.
We have dropped, what I mean? And what we got? 15 quid on a shirt and 150 quid on a season ticket. Yeah. We had a chance there and fucked it. Yeah. Right, Ash, that was the best part of 35 minutes talking about the fans forum. Was there anything else that came out of it?
Couple of highlights. He just basically said the rumours about Delabashira going to AC Milan were utter bollocks.
Which is true.
Well, yeah. What else? Something I can't remember. I can't remember. He said something about ask the local journalists and give them a good scowl over in the corner where they were typing on the laptops.
Oh, really?
About some like rumours and things like that. So I don't know what was said or what's been going on there, but I bet they didn't report that. What else? The same usual stuff. I can't remember anything out. Really, I'm sure the listeners will come up, but like I say, I've had a sleep and a drink by then.
Did you feel
bored?
Better? Did you feel better coming out of it?
Oh no.
I think
ultimately, then, is a fans forum not about raising morale, positivity? Forward thinking, people should have been coming away from that going right. But certainly at that stage of this stage of the season, certainly with the situation that we've gone through, is it a missed opportunity? And the only other thing 100%. I'd say on that is look at what happened 2-3 days later when people have gone, oh, this hasn't gone down really well, so let's go back and give them a sequel where we'll sit and there'll be no questions asked by the public, and I'll make my statements, and it'll be what I want to answer, and it'll be how I want to answer it, and it'll be in the written form where we can actually read it rather than listen to him. And that's with due respect to a man whose English is his second language. He came across much better in the written word than he did speaking publicly.
He should
So
have.
it's essentially a suggestion box.
They should have done. They should have done pre-prepared questions that he could have. The biggest issue, and I'm sure that people will agree, is they asked. It took him 20 minutes to answer a question, and then he probably because he goes on and he goes off, and like I said before, on a tangent. He forgets the actual original question, and then that's lost. And then he'll go, "Oh, what? I'm sorry about that. What was the question?" But then everyone's listening to all this other stuff that he's gone off on, and that it's lost. So if it was a pre-prepared question and he got some, and even like his communications director, Trevor Braithwaite, at the side of him, just like said, or gave him a bit of direction, like you're rambling, or because it's like I said, English second language,
big air horn,
anything, just give him a tap or just to interrupt. I know it's his boss, he's the owner, he's not going to interrupt, is he? But just a bit of direction to say, look, you've waffled on for 10 minutes and not answered. This is, and say that, and then just try and go through them a bit quicker because he wants to explain stuff, but then
over-explain
and lose the point, and that's the biggest thing I got from it.
Imagine this, right? If he sat there, right, and I used to laugh at this question, but again, it's an issue for some. Can we turn down the brightness of the sponsor boards, which is a question that was asked a couple of years ago, and one of the first ones he did. Can we turn down the brightness of the sponsor board? And he'll go, yes, I will sort that out. Next question, please. Why is the shirt so expensive? Cause SFP. Have you seen what's happening to Reading and QPR? They're in a right load of shit. Next question. Why? I don't understand why it needs explaining like that.
He needs media training. If he hasn't had media training, then Trevor Braithwaite is a bloody idiot because he should be.
Also,
he doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe in PR. He doesn't believe in all that. So he will not do all that.
Then every fans forum that he's done, name one fans forum that he's done that's been a success.
The one where everything was written down. That one where
there hasn't been one, has there? You know, and how many? I don't know how many clubs do fans forums. You know, I don't. Everybody's got, like you say. Can we turn the brightness of the advertising boards down? The paper dispensers in the toilets aren't very good. I'm just trying to think of just, there's too many steps.
You know what I mean?
There's too many steps up to the top of the grandstand. You know, these sort of things. It's just, it rains.
Why would the chairman? Why would the chairman need to be bothered by shit like that, though? Do you know what I mean? Paper towels, right? Listen, here's a man who's pumped best part of 200 million quid into a club. Excuse me, Mr. Chancery. There's no paper towels on Cop Jankers. What are you talking to me about that for? I don't give a shit. Why don't you talk to housekeeping? And then have somebody from housekeeping there talking about bloody paper, bloody towels. Why don't you fucking outsource some of these answers? What are Dooley and Braithwaite sat there for?
Exactly. That was another one of the biggest things. You had a table of 4 people. I think Liam Dooley said one sentence. And Stan said 2 sentences about cocaine dogs, sniffer dogs or something that they went on about.
Like, it was on cocaine.
Dogs on, yeah. It was the.
That's the name of the episode, Ash. Write it down.
Dogs on cocaine.
But I think that's what a lot of people have got from Chancery. He is very much the man, and whatever he says goes, and he doesn't like to dish out things like that. He could have just turned to somebody. They all had microphones. He could have just turned to someone and said, Trevor or Liam, what you take this? You're day-to-day man. You know ins and outs probably better than him.
And you sit there and you go, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll ensure it's taken care of in the future. Next question, please.
Yeah. Or he gives a little bit more. He gives a 2 or 3 minutes and not 20 minutes. You know what I mean?
The club needs to stop doing them. Full stop. Stop doing them. Get on with running the club.
It was a bad idea. It was bad. It was timed. It was obviously done before of what happened 24 hours previous. I don't think anybody would have minded at all if it was gone, look, in due of recent stuff that's happened, we're going to postpone it, or we're going to do it next week, send your questions in, or X, Y, Z.
The irony with that statement, Asher, is if you remember Monday night, everyone suddenly turned around and went, right, that forum tomorrow, he's having it. We're going to find out. Yep. And we were never going to find out. And he's never going to come out and say anything. But everybody went in thinking that there was going to be a manager unfurled, or there was going to be a statement or an explanation to what's happened.
Yeah.
What he's done, and there's a thing at work, not just my work, but work in general, where people have that thing, where they say that meeting could have been an email. All they needed to do was a press release. It needed to be a press release. This is what's happened. Don't turn up and expect this. Whatever it may be, we're going to cancel it tonight. And this was never going to be the situation. We were going to talk about this, and this. And this information will be released via the press, via a face-to-face sit-down, whatever it is that we can control in due course. And nobody would have moaned about that.
I'll tell you what I wanted answering. You're right, Steve, they won't. I'll tell you what I wanted answering. You went to one a few years ago, Ash. I want to say 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And somebody stood up and said, why aren't we doing what Brentford are doing? Look what they've done. And he said, we're looking to implement a structure like that, a system like that. Where's the answer to that? What do we do about that? But no, we're asking about, I think you're doing a great job, Chancellor. I think you're great. Get in the fucking bin. Where's the Brentford thing? Tell me about that. Was that discussed at all?
Nah, because it was forgot about, wasn't it?
Fuck's sake. What's the point of them then? Like, what is the fucking point? Hey, a man that rich, I can tell you now, a man that rich is not after feedback at all. He's not after feedback. He's never after feedback. Because a man who ingratiates himself so much into transfers, so much into the day-to-day running of the club, he's not after fucking feedback. He's the rich one. He's the king of the castle. Do you think he's going to listen to Trev from Mexborough? You know what I mean? Or even Braithwaite and Son, who he pays. You don't give a shit.
One of the things was to come out of it is obviously transfers. Obviously, what annoys me, and I don't know if people have ever listened to one of his things, is he always comes and says, "My people. My people tell me. My people tell me. My people tell me." Who are these people? Are they Liam Dooley? Are they Trevor Braithwaite? Are they who? He doesn't say. Obviously, he doesn't name things, but then it's like the transfer thing. He says they've got a transfer committee that's been talking. They bring him transfers. They bring whoever transfers, and not just the manager. So it wasn't just Darren Moore. There's a committee. Someone asked, "Is it what's his name? Is it Paxau? Amadou Paxau?" So
what's his name?
What's his name? Amadou Paxau. And he addressed that and said he's his personal advisor. He's his personal advisor. He's got nothing to do with transfers or anything like that. That's just his advisor. That's why he hangs around the club all the time, I believe, and that's it. So no one knows that. Is it David Downs has left now to go to Blackpool, who was like a recruitment manager, was he, or something like that? But he still has a committee. Who these committee are, I have not got a clue. And that's what people did ask that. Who are, obviously no manager, what's happening, who's signing players, his committee. His committee have got a list of players that they've scouted, looked at, identified for whatever reason.
Sorry.
No, you're all right. Go on.
I was going to say that's what pisses me off, because if you look at end of April, start of May, you look at where we were sitting in third instead of second or first. You look at being 4-0 down. You look at the build up to the final. What were the noises that were coming out of Darren Moore about the summer and recruitment? It was always, we've got two plans. We've got one for League One. We've got one for Championships. I've been looking at this player. I've been looking at that player. And it was always, I'm looking at the players. I'm coming up with it. I don't believe that for a second.
They've still got, he did say that, they've still got them lists of players. They've still...
Those players aren't going to come because one thing I will say, that you look at the players that he's got in, Darren Moore has recruited a breed above, generally speaking. Obviously, there's been a couple of misfires, but even on paper, the players that he's got in that didn't do it were good signings at the time. Adeniran, 4 million at Everton. Lewis Wing was he not player of the year? If not, and we were up there and we were recruiting that level of player. It didn't work out, but nobody was upset when Lewis Wing came through the door. Darren Moore did that. Darren Moore got George Byers in. Darren Moore's got Will Vaulks in. Darren Moore got Mark McGuinness in, and nobody will tell me.
Downs get him in.
Well, working together.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So this is it. So this leads me hand in hand. Thank you, Ash, and thank you for representing the podcast in such a
difficult time.
My favourite bit was about 10:30. You went, "Fuck this, I'm off." I absolutely. I'm had enough of this bollocks.
I left. Holly on the chat was like, "Ash, go home."
Yeah, Ash, go home.
I think I left at something like 11:30. I think it finished at 12:10. I think something like that. And what I believe, I didn't miss much at the end. So
yeah,
man's got to work and stuff, hasn't it?
About hand towels, right? Then, so there is a large topic in hand. Now, it's usually at this point in time where two things happen. They always find some toothless simpleton to talk to in the street on Sky Sports and go, "Well, I think we should get Pep Guardiola in." And there's also a bit where people don't understand how odds work. So what we're going to do is talk about the managerial people that we've had and we've spoken about. So last week, Carlos Carvalho was favourite, and then Chance Series slagged him off at the fans forum and said he's never coming back here. And then since then, we've had Steven Gerrard mentioned, Paul Ince, Giuseppe Iacchini, who I know fuck all about, and unlike the internet, I'm not going to pretend to know anything about. Randomly, we've had creeping Benito Carboni, who's chucked his hat in the ring. Luis Boamorti, for some reason, got mentioned. And then Nathan Jones, Slaven Bilic, and current favourite, Dean Smith. Simon, do any of these stick out to you?
Do that face again. Do it again.
He might not say a lot. He might not say a lot, but bloody hell, when he does, you don't need to even say words.
No.
What's your concern, Simon? Please tell.
What's my fucking concern? Right. Okay. So before we got to the 4-0 and the come around and this, that, and the other, I was a massive advocate of whatever happened, even after the 4-0, of keeping Darren Moore, because I could see the good he was doing and the players he was bringing in, the continuity, and the fact that 3 seasons in, he's building a fantastic team spirit and everybody's behind him. And his recruitment, I thought, was absolutely superb. The loan players, Mark McGuinness, these sort of players, just brilliant. And then the chair, and then we're 2-3 weeks behind everybody because of the playoffs, and then that sound base that we had just disappears, just goes. So now we've got to start again. And out of all those, I would say Dean Smith is it. He's probably the best choice out of that lot. Not Paul Ince, please. Giuseppe, what's his face? Giuseppe baseball hat? No. It's Carlos, definitely not. Hang on.
Carlos Carvalho. Now, Ash, was it you that said last week that he's taken 2 teams to the UEFA since getting us to the playoff final? Right, he's taken 2 teams well into the UEFA Cup. He's had quite a decent career at a certain level since he left us. So would he not come back a better manager, do you think? Or do you think his relationship with DC would kind of fall back in the old ways?
Yeah, I think it was Blair that said it. I think Blair came up with some sort of stats and gave through his history for the last 7 years and 29 clubs or something daft like that.
22.
Yeah, something. You would look at, and I think he gave the thing of, if you took the name off the top of the CV and it was a blank CV in front of you, and he said, this manager has applied for the job at Sheffield Wednesday, would you be happy? And you would say, look, he's kept somebody up who was certain relegation, I think in the Portuguese league, or Spanish league, sorry, where it's Real, somebody over Celta Vigo. He's got into European competitions with 2 unfancied teams. You'd look and go, yeah. But then you put the name on the top and you go, fucking no. First season.
Yeah, what is it? Yeah. But what would be your issue with it, Simon?
He created a lot of the problems that we're now trying to get ourselves out of. He was part of that great dream, and he ran with it through great charisma, fantastic in front of the camera. Probably complete opposite to me, including Darren Moore, every manager we've had since. The complete opposite to Joss, obviously. Wonderful, charming. The press loved him. He was on Sky. They're great. They loved him. But he ruined very good players by his coaching techniques. Telling Wallace, who lived in Fleetwood, just come over for the matches. We don't need to bother about training. Hutchinson, Kieran Lee. Now, Kieran Lee left the club, played quite well for Bolton, but Carlos murdered him in regards to trying to bring him back. Forestieri. It just, to me, the great first season was great. It was fantastic. And then after that, he just ruins players. And look, I asked the question is why he can't stay at other clubs for a long length of time. Why is he this journeyman? Why does he leave? Why does he go? I'd ask those sort of questions. I like the bloke. I just feel that he creates huge divisions behind the scenes, and we paid for that quite considerably.
I tell you what, Simon, that was the greatest sentence I've ever heard. I'm going to slag him off for 5 minutes, but I like the bloke. He's top banana, like.
Yeah, because he has that charisma.
He's all right on the beat.
He's you'd want to go for a drink with him, but I wouldn't want him managing my football team. Thank you very much.
It'd be all right with Chansiri's 12-month rolling contract idea, though, wouldn't it? Because obviously, if he doesn't stay long, he'd be off.
Well, I believe that Carlos had a quite
did
a
he
big.
Have that as well?
Well, carry on, lads.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he did, and he got.
No, that was a joke. Stop carrying on. What are you doing? I was mid-sentence. He's still going. He's still talking. What is happening? I was mid-sentence, and you two had a back and forth. What's going on? I was trying to lead into something else.
I'm trying to make it up for being quiet for so long.
This episode is not brought to you by Thornbridge Brewing Company. Anyway, listen to that. So, Dean Smith is the current favourite. Now, I don't like using the odds as a barometer. Reason being is that because it's fucking ridiculous and people are stupid. But there's also some rumours coming out of our local press talking about that we're actually meeting him. The irony of it being that we'd already met him, and then there's a strong rumour today that we're actually meeting him tonight. So someone's lying somewhere, unless this is a second meeting. I don't know. So, Stevie, talk to me about Dean Smith, and in fact, we'll go around the room on it because it looks like he's the leading candidate right now.
Are you asking if I think he's the best person for the job?
He's definitely the best person on the list.
Well, yeah, it's hard to disagree. If I'm honest, that face that Simon pulled was kind of the sort of emotion that I had with it when I was looking at. He's not somebody that really excited me, but you guys know me and where I was with Darren Moore. I don't think anybody at the minute is going to come in realistically and sort of take things to the next level from my point of view. A lot of the noises are that obviously he's done it at a higher level. He's done it at Premier League level. He's done it at Championship level, which is something that Darren Moore hasn't yet done. So it's already a step up. They're talking about the style of football that he's played, and the analysis around Brentford and Walsall and the progression that those clubs made under him, and sort of building foundations for other people to kick on from. In the cold light of day, he offends me a lot less than Paul Ince. He offends me a lot less than some of the other names that have been in there. I'm not necessarily overly enamoured with Iachini, is it? The fella from Parma strikes me as another Yoss, potentially. I want to keep away from that. He knows the league. He's tried and trusted. Whether or not he can get a tune out of the squad that we're going to have with the resources that we're left with, I'm not sure about. I have got somebody I'd rather have than him.
Go on then.
If push came to shove, I'm not saying it'd ever happen, but if it were left to me fantasy-wise, I'd go for Ian Evatt.
Yeah.
I think he's done a stellar job at Bolton. He's got them out of League Two. He's got them to the top end of League One. He's done it on a budget shoestring with limited resources, and let's be right, we went away to Bolton and we played out of skin this season to win 2-0, but they were good. And they were good before we blitzed.
I'd actually take a Michael Duff at Barnsley, but he's already taken a job elsewhere as well.
You flip a coin with those two when you think about it. Duff came down from Barnsley, and Barnsley came down and picked Duff up, and have done a really good job. But you could slip a piece of paper between Bolton and Barnsley, really, and over the course of the season. And it just seems to me that Bolton are doing that under Everett, and Duff have kind of done that under Duff. Barnsley have done that under Duff. I think he's somebody that has definitely flown under the radar as a sort of potential go-to.
Well, if I go further down the list, Stevie, Ian Everett's at 80s to what? 80s. So you've heard it here first, kids. Some other names that are here, and you're going to love some of these. Sam Allardyce at 40s, Frank Lampard at 50s, Jesse March at 50s. Also with Joey Barton, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Steve Bruce is at 50, so Bruce is available. Ash, what about
that? To be honest, Dan, I don't give a shit. I really
I'm the
don't.
Same. I find it really hard to get excited.
I know it's quite. I know I am negative, and it's a very blasé thing, but it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter who we get in, because we're all going to back them for the first 10 games, and when we don't win, they'll all be shit. Don't matter who you are, they're going to get out. So it's no good speculating who it's going to be. Oh, I'd like Dean Smith. I don't care, because if it is Dean Smith, then brilliant. I'll take him on face value for what he does for Sheffield Wednesday thing, because what he's going into, and I'm sure no manager would probably have the experience of working with our lovely owner and chairman. I'm sure it will be totally different from anything Dean Smith, if it is to be Dean Smith, has had to contend with before. I'm sure. So, and to have the added pressure of only having 14 is it signed on as well. So you've got to, whoever it is going to come in the next, well, it's got to be the next 4 or 5 days, surely. It's got to be, Annie. It's got to be by Sunday night. It's got to be by Sunday night. We have somebody. So Monday morning, 9 o'clock, we start 6 weeks behind everyone else, but we're there. And he's working away. He's come, whichever manager it is, has come up to Chancery, and he's doing his best sell for the job of, he's got these plays he wants to do. He's got his, I don't know if they do interviews and spreadsheets and the PowerPoints and things like that. Whatever, and he goes to Chancery and says, look, because whoever it is who's Chancery is going to be looking at must be in such a good position. So he's going to go in and because they're getting fucking desperate. They really, I think they really are getting desperate. So they're going to go to a manager, Dean Smith, and say, look, you're going to have 50 pence in a Mars bar to spend. And he's going to go, no, I want this because I've got these targets that I've worked with or I know, and these are going to come. And he wants X amount. He wants his 12-month rolling contract. He wants a 2-year fixed contract. I don't know, whatever he wants. So I'm not bothered. Whoever it is going to come in. They're going to have a fucking proper hard job on their hands. Whoever it is.
Yeah.
It's going to be, and us fans, we've just got to bat. And it's easy to say, innit? Because it's a new season. We know already if Darren Moore was here, it was going to be an uphill struggle. I believe that anyway. Without Darren Moore, it's a mountain, and we've surpassed them in the past with a 4-0. Of course we have, but it's a whole new ball game. This one, the guy who's going to come in is going to have to contend with demanding fans, and we are, and for everything we believe we should be Premier League. Fans believe we should be higher up. We should be this. We should be that. And it's just going to be such a hard thing for whoever comes in. So at the minute, I'm not bothered, to be honest, who comes in. I just know I'll back them because I know what a shit show they're going into. And the first 10, 12, like I said, 10, 12 games, probably I'm not that bothered because it's going to take.
I'm the same.
You can't judge a manager knowing what we know and going into a shit show like this and go, right, hey, whoever comes in and they win the first 6 games on the opening up and we're top of the league by end of August or whatever, fucking bang on. But we've just got to be a bit realistic, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I'm realistic that it's not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have judged Darren Moore? after 6 games.
Oh, I did. I think I on this program, I literally went, "Fuck him." It took him too long, and it did. It took him 6 months to get his thing. But then get his formation, and then once it did, it landed. But I wouldn't have given him that long to land it.
But would you have done it going forwards next season, knowing what we do now, with hindsight? Does that not raise his stock a little bit to think?
I don't think Darren Moore would have seen November as manager of Sheffield Wednesday next season.
Well, that's why I would imagine that the 12-month rolling contract was on the table, because he had a 12-month rolling contract, and it was all right for him when he got relegated. He got 12 months and then stayed again 12 months, but then obviously got promoted and he wanted 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. Then Chansiri's gone, no, you can have 12 months like you've had for the last 2.5 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And if he said, no, I want longer, and that's what the disagreement is, and other things, obviously, budgets and staff and whatever, then that's not all Chansiri. That could be a bit of more. And I'm sure there is a bit of, ifs and buts and all that. So if whoever comes in accepts a 12-month contract, rolling, and they get promoted, just say, then obviously they'll be wanting more. But then you don't know, if you get promoted to Premier League, Chansiri might go, actually, I don't have to pay this guy off. He's took us up. I can go and get an A-list. Or he thinks he could get an A-list.
I think that's an excellent point, and it's something that I might have said on here, but I think, or said it privately. I think ultimately what we need now, whether it be Dean Smith, whether it be somebody else coming in, we've got a wish list or whoever it is. We need somebody who can give us stability next season. Chansiri's he's in fantasy world if he thinks we're going to be anywhere near top 6 as far as I'm concerned as it stands tonight. But if we can stay in the Championship next year and solidify our status and get a little bit more finance behind us, then that's absolutely fine. And if it means that somebody comes in and just does a job for 12 months, I'm all right with that.
You've just said there in the same sentence, we need somebody to come in with stability with Chansiri in charge. And then you went, and Chansiri's in fantasy world. Of course he fucking is, Steve. Like, that's like pointing at the sky and going, it's blue. What the fucking hell? Right, listen, that's an hour. We could go on all night on this one. But listen, just before we go, we're still raising money via our Buyers a Coffee Foundation, as it were. So if you go onto our Twitter, our pinned tweet is a link where you can donate £3. Now we've been discussing this on behind the scenes, and as soon as we get to £65, we're gonna raffle off a shirt for the for somebody who wants to get a shirt for somebody. We're hoping to then donate the money to a better cause, one that we nominate amongst ourselves. So if you can get involved, that would be amazing. But in the meantime, thanks a lot for listening. See you later.
The Wednesday Week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.